Hi, everybody. Szachowicz here, and welcome to this 5-minute podcast for the AASA Innovation and Transformational Leadership Network. I am glad to be with you. For this brief podcast, I have just 2 agenda items. I'm going to recap, first of all, the 4 C's that my partner Ray McNulty and I first presented to you at an earlier session. And then I'm going to do a focus on how you can bring clarity through literacy. And if you've heard Ray and I speak before, and we talk about the nature of change and the difference between horizontal and vertical change. And far too many times in education, it's horizontal change. It's like leapfrogging from one reform to another, to another, to another. And so what we hope that you can get to in your own system is vertical change. And to really describe that, I think the words of Jim Collins' Good to Great is terrific, where he says the real path to greatness requires simplicity and diligence, and it requires clarity. And that demands each of us to focus on what's vital and eliminate all the extraneous distractions. So that brings me to, how do you get there? How do you get to clarity? So let me just briefly recap the 4 C's for you. The first is clarity, and that's what I'll be focusing on in this podcast, where you have a course of action that's focused and understood by everybody. You then have to communicate it. How do you communicate that clarity to others and facilitate communication among others? To get to vertical implementation, you have to be consistent, and that's where the power of success by design comes in any vertical implementation. And then finally, in a very happy note, you should celebrate success. So those are the 4 C's, but for the rest of this time, I'm just going to focus on clarity. Your course of action, which will be focused and understood by everybody. And ask you all on this podcast this question: do you feel like you have clarity across your district and your schools? Well, to answer that question, I want to give you a challenge, a strategy to try with your own leadership team. Get everybody on your leadership team to write your focus, your district's focus, mission, or purpose. I don't mean like one of those gigantic mission statements. I mean a single sentence that gets at what you stand for. That's okay. So everybody does that. All right. Now, how do you know if there's clarity across your district? Now do part 2, which is answer honestly. Okay. Would all of these following stakeholders, faculty, students, parents, and community, answer the question in the same way? Try that with your leadership team. I think it'll really help you get to the issue of clarity. So to go back to Colin's words, it demands each of us to focus on what's vital. I ask, what is vital then when you're trying to move your district to being a future-focused district that implements vertical change? And I would urge you to consider literacy as one of the vehicles to that. So that brings me to the second item, which is how you focus on clarity through literacy. Again, I'm going to go to the words of an expert that I admire, Mike Schmoker. And if you haven't read Focus, Leading with Focus, do so. It's awesome. And I love how Schmoker says, focused leadership means doing less and doing it better. And he's even more specific. He said, he gets to what's vital. What is essential for schools? Far more purposeful reading and writing in every discipline, or authentic literacy. And I agree. And we all know this. I mean, there's a lot of research on this, but I just picked one item, which is that we know underdeveloped literacy skills are the #1 reason why students are retained, assigned to special ed, given long-term remedial services, and why they fail to graduate. So you can't go wrong with literacy. It's a game changer. So that brings me to the second and final strategy, which I think you should try with your whole faculty. These 3 questions changed us at Brockton High. It's what brought us to literacy. Have everybody in small groups really engage with these 3 questions. First, ask teachers to detail what the skills our students need to be able to do to be successful on your state assessment. Whether we like it or not, that's a judgment that we all face. But then you have to go beyond that. Secondly, what skills do the students need to be successful in our classes? And then thirdly, what skills do the students need to be successful in their lives beyond school? And when you can really take these 3 questions, you are getting to the sweet spot of what is vital. For us at Brockton High, it brought us to defining literacy in 4 areas: reading, writing, speaking, and reasoning. And we said that's going to happen in every class. But for you, how do you get to what is vital? And if you engage everyone in that discussion, you are focusing on what is vital, you are bringing clarity to your system. So in conclusion, I would urge you to remember how vital literacy is. It's essential for future-focused schools. Try these 3 questions. It engages everyone in the dialogue about what's vital. Get your district to what is vital. And in thinking specifically about literacy, you can't go wrong. It's not trendy. It's not an event. It's not going to get dated. It doesn't cost you a fortune, and it can be easily replicated. So go for it. So what I did for you in this podcast, I hope, was to just recap the 4 C's, and then secondly, really think about getting clarity in your district through focusing on literacy. So I want to thank everybody for your time. I know how busy everybody is, and especially now. So I wish you all happy holidays, and also say to any of you, if you have any questions about this podcast or anything else, feel free to contact me directly. My email is right here. Or if you have questions further with about the AASA network, the Successful Practices Network, you can contact Deb Light directly, and there's her email as well. Thanks, everybody. Happy holidays.